The great hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with countless lights, reflecting off the polished floors and towering columns. Delegates from hundreds of planets sat in their designated sections, their shapes and colors more varied than any human had ever imagined. Some had scales, some had feathers, and some seemed almost translucent, their bodies glowing softly. It was a sight that could overwhelm even the most seasoned diplomat. Among them stood Kale, a young human ambassador from Earth. Unlike most council members, he wore no ornate robes or symbols of rank. His plain suit and calm demeanor made him appear small in the grandeur of the hall, but his eyes held a quiet confidence that no one could ignore. Today he was not just an ambassador. Today he was announcing something that would shock the entire galaxy. Kale stepped forward to the podium. The chatter in the hall slowly faded as delegates turned their attention to him. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice steady, "I come before you not just as an ambassador of Earth, but as a man who has found a partner in life who I respect, admire, and love." A ripple of surprise moved through the room. It was unusual for humans to speak so personally in such formal settings. Whispers spread quickly as Kyle continued. "I am proud to announce my marriage to Princess Lyra, daughter of King Veyron of the Xerian people." The reaction was immediate, and not at all what Kyle expected. Some delegates laughed outright. Others muttered under their breaths, exchanging looks of disbelief. A few of the older council members shook their heads, clearly offended that a human dared claim a Xerian princess as his bride. "You married her?" hissed one delegate from a crystalline planet. His voice was high-pitched and sharp. She is ugly," the words spread like wildfire. Laughter filled the hall. Delegates waved their hands, fanning the air as if to clear away the absurdity. Another voice joined in, this one deep and gravelly. "Why would a human, of all beings, marry someone who looks like that?" Kale remained calm. He did not raise his voice, and he did not smile. He had expected ridicule. After all, humans were still considered young and inexperienced compared to the ancient species of the Council. What he had not expected was just how harsh and unthinking the mockery could be. Princess Lyra stood beside him, her posture straight, her hands clasped in front of her. She was taller than Kale, with skin that shimmered in faint shades of green and silver. Her face was long, her features unfamiliar to most council members, and her eyes glowed softly, reflecting the bioluminescent beauty of her home planet. But despite their laughter, Kyle saw strength and intelligence in her gaze. "Your laughter is noted," Kyle said calmly, turning to face the council fully. "But I ask you to remember that strength is not measured by appearance. My choice is my own. My respect for Princess Lyra is not based on what you see, but on what she embodies." The hall grew quiet, though the whispers did not stop entirely. Kale's words had halted some of the more hasty laughter, though a few council members still scoffed. "She is young," one said, "and inexperienced. A human could never lead beside a Xerian princess." Kale's eyes did not waver. "Leadership is not inherited. It is earned. And love? Love is not inherited either. It is chosen." At that moment, a hush fell over the hall. It was rare for a human to speak with such authority, especially to beings who had ruled planets for thousands of cycles. Kale knew he had only a moment to make his point. "I do not ask for your approval," he continued. "I do not ask for your respect. I only ask that you judge us by what we can achieve together, not by what your eyes see." A few delegates exchanged uneasy glances. Some looked offended by Kale's confidence, while others seemed intrigued. Lyra's calm presence added weight to his words. Though council members had mocked her appearance, her dignity and composure were undeniable. Still, there were those who would not let the moment pass quietly. A short, feathery delegate chirped loudly, drawing the attention of everyone in the hall. "You speak boldly, human, but surely you understand the consequences of your choice. The Xerian royal family has great influence. They have enemies. Perhaps you are naive, thinking a human can navigate such politics." Kale smiled faintly. "Naivety is believing that courage and intelligence are limited by appearance or species. I am prepared for any challenge, as is Princess Lyra. Together we will face whatever comes." Some whispered that he sounded foolish, others that he sounded remarkable. The hall seemed divided between disbelief and curiosity. The session continued with formalities, but the atmosphere had shifted. Kale and Lyra were no longer just a human and an ugly princess. They were a pair that demanded attention, their union a challenge to the assumptions of the galaxy. After the council session, Kale and Lyra returned to the Xerian capital, a city that seemed to float above the surface of a glittering planet. Towers of crystal and metal rose like mountains, their surfaces glowing with shifting patterns of light. The streets were filled with Xerians of all shapes and sizes, moving with grace and precision. Lyra guided Kale through the streets with quiet pride. "Do you feel the eyes on us?" she asked softly. Kale looked around, noting the subtle stares and whispers. "I do, but their judgment does not change who we are. It only shows how much they underestimate humans and you." Lyra smiled faintly, though her expression carried a hint of sadness. "They see only what they expect. They cannot imagine what we can do together." Over the next few days, Kale learned more about Lyra's life and her people. The Xerians had always been a proud species, valuing strength, intelligence, and tradition. Yet Lyra had grown up feeling different, aware that her abilities and potential were far greater than others assumed. She had learned to hide her talents, not because she lacked skill, but because showing them too early could be dangerous. Kyle admired her for it. More than her talents, he admired her resilience, wisdom, and patience. In her, he saw a partner who could challenge him, inspire him, and fight alongside him, not because of appearances, but because of character. One evening, as the twin moons of the Xerian capital rose in the sky, Lyra led Kyle to a quiet balcony overlooking the glowing city. "Kyle," she said softly, "the council mocks us now. They do not see what we are capable of, but soon they will." Kale took her hand in his. "Then let them watch. Let them learn that courage, intelligence, and love cannot be measured by appearances." Lyra's eyes shimmered in the moonlight. "And perhaps one day humans will be seen as more than they think. Not just by the council, but by the galaxy." Kyle smiled, feeling a deep sense of purpose. He had not come to the galaxy seeking fame or power. He had come seeking partnership, challenge, and understanding. In Lyra, he had found all three. As they stood together, watching the city glow beneath them, Kale knew that the council's laughter was only the beginning. A far greater journey awaited them, one that would test their courage, reveal hidden strengths, and show the galaxy the true power of humans and their allies. The first step had been taken. Kale and Lyra were united, and the galaxy could either accept them or be left behind. The days following the announcement to the Galactic Council were filled with whispers, rumors, and curious stares. Kale and Princess Lyra moved through the glowing streets of the Xerian capital like a quiet storm. While the council had mocked them, the citizens of Xeria watched with intrigue. They were used to royal pageantry, but a human marrying a Xerian princess was unheard of. Kale often felt their eyes on him, and occasionally he would catch a soft murmur of disbelief. A human? With Princess Lyra? But he did not let it bother him. His attention was focused entirely on understanding Lyra, her world, and the life they would build together. One evening, after a long day of formal introductions and meetings with the Xerian court, Lyra led Kyle to a secluded terrace on the edge of the palace. The city below shimmered with blue and green lights, casting delicate reflections on their faces. "Kyle," Lyra began, her voice gentle yet serious, "there is something I must show you, something I have hidden for a long time." Kale looked at her, curiosity sparking in his eyes. "What is it, Lyra?" She hesitated, then reached out her hand. "Come with me. You must promise that you will not fear it, nor judge me for it." Kale took her hand without hesitation. "I promise." Lyra led him through winding corridors and hidden passageways in the palace until they reached a chamber that hummed with energy. Strange symbols glowed on the walls, and the air seemed to vibrate with a low, steady pulse. "Here," Lyra said, "is where I train in secret." Kale looked around in wonder. "It feels alive," Lyra nodded. "This is where I learn to control my abilities. Most Xerians can manipulate small energies, but my gift is rare. I can shape matter, guide energy, and even influence life itself in ways most people cannot imagine. But I hide it because showing it too soon can be dangerous." Kale studied her carefully. "Why dangerous?" "Because power like this attracts attention," Lyra explained. "Some admire it, but others fear it. And fear can lead to conflict. That is why I have kept it hidden, even from most of my own people." Kale felt a mixture of awe and admiration. He had heard of alien abilities before, but nothing prepared him for this. And you are willing to trust me with it? Lyra looked him in the eyes. I trust you because you see beyond appearances, Kale. You do not care about what others think of me. You see who I am, not what I look like. Kyle smiled. Then show me. Lyra closed her eyes and raised her hands. A soft glow appeared around her fingertips, small sparks of blue and green energy swirling in the air. Slowly, the energy expanded, forming a delicate orb that hovered above her palm. Kale watched in amazement as the orb shimmered, casting tiny lights across the walls of the chamber. This is incredible, Kyle whispered. How do you control it? It takes focus, Lyra said, and trust. The energy responds to your intent. If your mind wavers, it falters. If your heart is uncertain, it fades. She looked at Kale. I want you to try with my guidance. Kale hesitated. Humans were strong, but this was unlike anything he had ever faced. I don't know if I can, Lyra smiled reassuringly. You can. Humans have a courage that even the oldest Xerians admire. I will guide you. For hours, Lyra taught Kale the basics. At first, nothing happened. The energy refused to respond, flickering and vanishing before it could form. But Kale did not give up. He focused, remembering Lyra's words about trust, courage, and intent. Slowly, a small spark of light appeared above his palm, wobbly and faint, but real. You did it, Lyra exclaimed, her eyes shining. See? I told you humans have potential. Kale laughed, a mix of relief and excitement. I never imagined that I could do this. Thank you for trusting me. Lyra's expression softened. And thank you for believing in me. You must understand, Kale, that our union is more than marriage. Together we are stronger than either of us alone. That is why the Council's mockery cannot shake us. The next days were filled with both training and political preparation. The Council's ridicule still echoed across the galaxy, but Kyle and Lyra focused on what mattered, learning from each other and understanding the unique strengths they brought to their partnership. During their walks through the palace gardens, Kyle observed the Xerians going about their daily routines. He noticed that many of them were brilliant, disciplined, and highly capable. But even among their people, there was an unspoken fear of Lyra's abilities. Some whispered about her potential, others avoided her gaze. Kale realized that their doubts were not unlike the Council's. Fear of what one cannot understand often turns into mockery or mistrust. One evening, Lyra took Kale to the Crystal Lake, a body of water that reflected the stars in a perfect mirror. Kyle, there is more to my secret, she said, kneeling beside the shimmering water. I am not just capable of controlling energy. I can protect entire systems, heal ecosystems, and influence the very fabric of life. But this is a responsibility, not a power to show off. It must be used wisely. Kale's eyes widened. That is incredible. And dangerous if misused. Yes, Lyra agreed. That is why we must be careful. The Council does not know this. Few people know this. But I trust you to help me use it wisely. Together we can protect not just Xeria, but entire worlds if necessary. Kale felt a surge of determination. Then we will do it together. I will learn. I will help. And we will show the galaxy that humans and Xerians together can accomplish things no one else can. Lyra placed her hand on Kale's shoulder. It will not be easy. Others will doubt us, mock us, and even try to stop us. But we have something they do not: trust, courage, and unity. Over the following weeks, Kale trained with Lyra daily. He learned to sense energy, to guide it, and even to create small shields that could repel objects. While he was not as naturally gifted as Lyra, his human ingenuity allowed him to adapt quickly, combining his knowledge of technology with her teachings. In turn, Kale shared human strategies with Lyra. He taught her about problem-solving under pressure, thinking creatively, and trusting instincts rather than waiting for perfection. Lyra, who had always been disciplined and methodical, began to see the value in human unpredictability. Together they became a team whose strengths complemented each other perfectly. As their training continued, rumors of their union began to reach the Council once more. Delegates who had mocked Kale before now whispered cautiously. Perhaps he is more capable than we thought, one said. Another replied, and the princess. There may be more to her than we realized. But the Council still did not know the full truth. Lyra's secret remained hidden from all but Kale, and that secret, when revealed, would change the galaxy forever. One evening, as Kale and Lyra rested in the palace gardens, They watched the twin moons rise above the glowing city. Kyle turned to her and said softly, "Do you think the Council will ever understand us?" Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting the twin moons. "Perhaps not now. But they will learn. And when they do, the galaxy will realize that humans are not to be underestimated, and neither are Xerians like me." Kale took her hand in his, feeling the warmth and power that flowed not just from her, but from their growing unity. He knew that challenges lay ahead. Political battles, external threats, and the constant judgment of those who refused to see beyond appearances. But he also knew something more important. Together, he and Lyra were unstoppable. And so, in the quiet glow of the Xerian capital, Kale and Lyra prepared for the challenges to come, building a bond of trust, courage, and shared purpose. The Council's mockery was only the beginning. Soon the galaxy would witness the true power of their union, and it would be more extraordinary than anyone could imagine. The calm of the Xerian capital did not last long. News arrived one morning that a hostile alien fleet, known as the Dravic Armada, was moving toward the Xerian system. They were a species notorious for their aggression and ruthlessness. Entire planets had fallen before their weapons, and even the Galactic Council had struggled to repel them in the past. When Kale received the report, he immediately went to Lyra's side. "We must act quickly," he said. "The Council may hesitate, but we cannot wait for them. Xeria is our home, and we cannot allow it to fall." Lyra nodded. "You are right, Kale, but we must be careful. The Dravic are clever, and they underestimate humans and Xerians alike. That could work to our advantage." The Council convened an emergency session to address the threat. Delegates filled the Grand Hall once more, their expressions a mix of fear and disbelief. Many whispered about Kale and Lyra, questioning whether a human and a so-called ugly princess could face such a formidable enemy. Kale stepped forward confidently. "Esteemed Council members," he said, "we do not have time to debate or doubt. The Dravic fleet moves swiftly. I propose a plan that combines human ingenuity with Princess Lyra's unique abilities. Together we can protect the Xerian system and the galaxy." A murmur of skepticism ran through the hall. "Human ingenuity?" A delegate scoffed. "And the princess? How can she possibly influence the outcome against such a force?" Kale held his ground. "By working together, we turn what they expect into a weakness. We will not fight as individuals. We will fight as a united front. Trust me or do not, but we must act now." The Council, unwilling to delay further, reluctantly allowed Kale and Lyra to lead a strike team. They were given a small fleet of ships, older vessels deemed expendable by some members. But Kale saw opportunity where others saw limits. As Kale and Lyra prepared their ships, they worked closely with their team. Kale analyzed the fleet, studying each ship's weaknesses and devising clever strategies to outmaneuver the Dravic. Lyra focused on channeling her energy manipulation abilities, creating shields, enhancing engines, and even crafting small offensive bursts that could disrupt enemy technology. The night before the mission, Kale and Lyra stood on the observation deck of their flagship, overlooking the glowing city of Xeria. "Do you think we can do it?" Kale asked softly. Lyra placed her hand on his shoulder. "We must and we will. They underestimate us because we are not what they expect. That is our advantage. Courage, intelligence, and unity. Those are weapons far stronger than any fleet." The following day, the Dravic Armada appeared on the horizon, a dark cloud of warships stretching across the void. The Council members watched anxiously, expecting disaster. Kale's fleet moved strategically, utilizing human tactics he had adapted for space combat. He ordered smaller ships to create diversions, while the main fleet, guided by Lyra's energy manipulation, moved into positions that gave them an edge. Lyra raised her hands, channeling energy into a glowing shield that surrounded the fleet. As Dravic ships fired, their weapons met the shimmering barrier and dissipated. The Dravic were stunned. Never had they faced such a combination of technology, strategy, and energy manipulation. Kale directed their movements with precision. "Focus on the smaller vessels first. Draw them away from their command ships. Lyra, can you disrupt their communication arrays?" Lyra nodded, concentrating. Streams of energy flowed from her hands, striking the enemy's communication hubs. One by one, Dravic ships lost coordination, drifting into vulnerable positions. Kale's fleet seized the opportunity, striking decisively and causing confusion among the attackers. The battle raged for hours, Explosions lit up the void as ships collided and energy bursts shattered enemy shields. Kale's leadership and ingenuity shone as he anticipated enemy maneuvers and adapted rapidly. Lyra's powers turned the tide, protecting their fleet and disabling critical enemy systems. As the Dravik began to retreat, Kale ordered a final maneuver, a daring plan to trap their flagship using a combination of human tactics and Lyra's energy control. The flagship was isolated, surrounded by a ring of smaller ships and glowing energy fields. The Dravik captain realized too late that he had underestimated the human and Xerian duo. With a final pulse of energy, Lyra disabled the flagship's weapons, leaving it powerless. Kale's fleet moved in, forcing the Dravik to surrender. Back on the Xerian capital, the aftermath of the battle was visible. The city had been protected, the fleet largely unharmed, and the Dravik armada forced to retreat. News of the human-led strategy and Lyra's extraordinary ability spread quickly. The council reconvened, pale and silent. They had mocked Kale and Lyra before, but now their laughter was gone, replaced by shock and in some cases admiration. They had witnessed firsthand the power of unity, intelligence and courage, qualities they had assumed humans lacked. One elder delegate broke the silence. I underestimated you, human. And you, princess. Your abilities and your leadership are extraordinary, Kale bowed respectfully. Thank you. But this was not about one person. It was about what humans and Xerians can achieve together. Strength comes not from appearances, but from collaboration, courage, and trust. Lyra stepped forward, her calm presence commanding attention. The council doubted us because they saw only the surface. I hope this victory demonstrates that judgment based on appearance or prejudice is dangerous. We act for the safety of the galaxy, not for recognition. The council members were pale, many unable to hide their astonishment. They realized that their mockery had been misplaced and, more importantly, that humans could no longer be dismissed. Kale had proven that even a young species like Earth could contribute meaningfully to galactic defense. Outside the council hall, Kale and Lyra walked together, their hands intertwined. The council has seen our strength, Kale said quietly, but they still do not know the full extent of what you can do. Lyra smiled. That is for another time. For now we have shown them enough to earn respect and perhaps caution. There will always be those who doubt us, but together we are unstoppable. Kale looked out at the stars, the wreckage of the Dravik armada glowing in the distance. This battle is just the beginning. If they underestimated us once, others will do the same. But now they know that humans, and our unity with other species, cannot be ignored. In the quiet of the Xerian capital, the city celebrated cautiously. Kale and Lyra had protected not just their home, but the reputation of humanity in the eyes of the galaxy. Their union, once mocked, had now become a symbol of courage, ingenuity, and unexpected power. Yet Kale knew that the true challenge was still ahead. The galaxy was vast and threats were many, but he also knew something more important. He was not alone. Lyra stood beside him, a partner in strategy, in strength, and in heart. The Dravik armada had been defeated, but the story of their courage, intelligence, and unity was just beginning. The council's mockery had faded, replaced by astonishment and respect, and Kale and Lyra knew that together they could face any challenge, even those that no one else could imagine. As night fell over the Xerian capital, the twin moons reflected on the shimmering towers. Kale and Lyra stood side by side looking toward the stars. Their journey was far from over, but one thing was certain. The galaxy had underestimated humans, and that would be a mistake they would never make again. The Galactic Council chamber was quiet, almost tense. Kyle and Princess Lyra stood at the center, their presence commanding the attention of every delegate. The previous battle against the Dravik armada had left the council pale with astonishment, but many still held doubts. They had seen glimpses of Lyra's abilities, but not the full extent. Some wondered if it had been luck or careful planning. Kale stepped forward first. "Esteemed members of the council," he said, his voice calm and firm. "You witnessed what we accomplished against the Dravik armada. But there is more you must understand. The galaxy is vast and threats are not always obvious. We must be prepared, and appearances do not determine strength." A few delegates muttered, clearly uncomfortable. They had expected the human and the Xerian princess to fail spectacularly, and yet here they were, standing confidently. Kale's words carried weight, and even those who doubted him felt it. Lyra raised her hand and the room went still. A soft glowing energy began to form around her fingers, expanding slowly until it filled the chamber with a gentle pulsating light. The walls shimmered as the energy interacted with the chamber itself, bending light and causing symbols to dance across the surface. One of the older council members gasped. What is she doing?" Kyle stepped aside, allowing Lyra to demonstrate. "Princess Lyra, show them." Lyra closed her eyes for a moment and then extended her hands fully. The energy she had summoned rose higher, forming intricate patterns in the air. It was not just light, it was power, tangible and alive, moving with intelligence. Delegates felt it pressing gently against them, as though the room itself acknowledged her presence. "I can manipulate energy," Lyra said softly, her voice carrying authority. "I can create protective shields, influence matter, and even restore balance to systems that are in danger. My abilities are not for show, but for protection. The same energy that protected the Xurian system can protect other planets and fleets across the galaxy." The room went silent. The council members who had mocked her appearance and Kale's choice now stared in disbelief. Some paled, others stepped back instinctively. They had underestimated her, and now the truth was undeniable. Kale added, "The Dravik Armada was defeated not by luck, but by strategy and unity. Human creativity combined with Lyra's abilities proved stronger than their fleet. We can protect more worlds if we work together." A young delegate from a water-based planet raised a hand. "But how is it possible? Such power. No single Xurian has ever demonstrated it at this level." Lyra smiled faintly. "I am not a typical Xurian. My abilities are rare, but I have trained for years and I have trusted humans like Kale to combine their ingenuity with my strengths. Together we can achieve more than any one species could alone." The murmurs grew louder, but now they were mixed with awe. A crystalline delegate whose body sparkled with every movement stepped forward. You are extraordinary. I never imagined a human could partner with a Xurian in this way. And yet here you are, proving us all wrong." Kyle looked around, feeling a quiet pride. "The lesson here is simple. Do not judge by appearances. Do not dismiss potential because it does not fit your expectations. Strength comes in many forms, human, Xurian, or otherwise." Then Lyra raised her hands once more. This time, the energy extended beyond the chamber, reaching toward the observation windows. The stars outside seemed to respond, small constellations glowing more brightly. Delegates felt the room hum with power, realizing that this energy could extend far beyond Xeria. It could protect fleets, planets, and entire star systems. The council members were pale, some whispering, some openly staring in astonishment. Their mockery had turned to fear and admiration. Even the harshest skeptics could not deny the truth. One elder delegate, known for his strict adherence to tradition, finally spoke. I underestimated both of you. Your unity, your courage, and your abilities are beyond anything I could have imagined. Humans and Xurians. Together, when you are stronger than we believed." Lyra nodded, lowering her hands. The energy dissipated, leaving the room glowing faintly with residual light. "Thank you," she said simply.
"I hope this demonstration helps you understand that unity and trust can surpass appearances and expectations."
Kale and I are not the same as others you have seen before, but that does not make us less capable. It makes us formidable. A delegate from a heavily armored planet finally spoke aloud. "I admit it. I mocked you, human. I mocked the princess. And I was wrong. The galaxy has much to learn from your courage and partnership." Kale and Lyra exchanged a brief glance. They had won the respect of the council, but more importantly, they had proven a deeper truth. Humans cannot be underestimated, and appearance does not define strength. Outside the chamber, news spread rapidly. Across the galaxy, messages were sent and broadcasts were made. Humans were no longer seen as weak or inexperienced. Kale's ingenuity and Lyra's rare abilities became a symbol of hope and inspiration. That night, Kale and Lyra returned to the palace gardens. The city glowed under the twin moons, the towers shimmering like stars themselves. Kale looked at Lyra, admiration clear in his eyes. "You were incredible today." They could not believe what they were seeing. Lyra smiled softly. "I did not do it alone. You were with me every step of the way. Your courage, your quick thinking, and your willingness to act made this possible. The council saw the truth because we acted together." Kale took her hand, holding it gently. I never doubted you. I only hoped that others could see what I see. That one day humans would be respected for their creativity and courage, not dismissed for being young or different. Lyra nodded. And now they have. But this is only the beginning. There will always be new threats, new challenges. We must continue to train, continue to grow, and continue to act together. Our partnership is our strength. The next morning, the Galactic Council held a formal session to acknowledge Kyle and Lyra. For the first time, humans were honored in the chamber. The delegates spoke of courage, ingenuity, and unity. Kale and Lyra accepted their recognition humbly, but the message was clear. The galaxy had changed. Even those who had mocked them before now spoke with respect. Humans were no longer seen as insignificant, and Princess Lyra's abilities, once hidden and underestimated, had become a symbol of what could be achieved when trust and collaboration replaced fear and prejudice. As Kyle and Lyra walked through the palace corridors that evening, they could hear whispers of admiration and curiosity. Citizens of Xiria, as well as visiting delegates, spoke of the human ambassador and the princess who had changed the galaxy's view. Kale smiled at Lyra. The council finally understands what we can do. But what about the galaxy beyond them? They are just one part of a much larger universe. Lyra looked toward the stars, her eyes reflecting the glow of distant worlds. The galaxy will learn, Kale. Slowly perhaps, but it will learn. And when it does, humans and Xirians together will be at the forefront of change, protection, and progress. Kyle squeezed her hand. Then we keep moving forward, together, Lyra nodded. Together. The night air of the Xirian capital was cool and calm, but beneath it a sense of anticipation lingered. Kale and Lyra had revealed a secret that left the council pale with awe. They had demonstrated the strength of unity, courage, and intelligence. But the galaxy was vast and new challenges were certain to arise. For now, however, Kale and Lyra allowed themselves a moment of quiet triumph. They had turned mockery into respect, doubt into admiration, and underestimation into awe, and they knew that their journey was far from over. The council had learned a vital lesson: never underestimate humans, and never judge anyone by appearances alone. And in that lesson lay the promise of a future where courage, partnership, and intelligence could reshape the galaxy itself. The aftermath of the Dravik Armada battle had left the galaxy buzzing. News of Kale, the human ambassador, and Princess Lyra, the extraordinary Xirian, spread like wildfire. Across planets, species once dismissive of humans began to reconsider. The couple's courage, intelligence, and unity had reshaped the perception of humanity in the galaxy. Yet Kale and Lyra did not rest on their laurels. While the Galactic Council had recognized their achievement, the galaxy was vast and full of potential threats. Their work was far from over. Together, they set out to establish a new interstellar alliance, a network of planets committed to cooperation, protection, and mutual respect. Kale convened meetings with representatives from various systems. His approach was simple but effective: listen, understand, and act. Unlike previous delegations, Kale did not rely on intimidation or grandeur. He spoke plainly, clearly outlining the benefits of collaboration, and showcasing how humans and Xirians had successfully defended Xiria. Princess Lyra accompanied him, demonstrating her abilities subtly, without threat, and always with calm authority. Her powers were no longer a secret. They were a symbol of what careful guidance, discipline, and trust could achieve. At first, some species were skeptical. A human and a Xirian princess leading an alliance? One delegate from a desert planet asked. It seems unlikely. How can you manage such diversity? Kale smiled. By valuing the strengths of each species, by respecting differences, and by understanding that cooperation is stronger than fear. We have faced the Dravik Armada together. If we can do that, we can do more. The council members who had once mocked Kale's marriage were now listening with rapt attention. They saw how human adaptability and Xirian energy manipulation could combine in ways no other species had achieved. They began to offer support, resources, and even fleets to aid in the formation of this alliance. Meanwhile, Kale and Lyra returned to Xiria for a moment of reflection. The city, glowing beneath twin moons, seemed peaceful, yet the couple knew challenges would continue. Lyra led Kale to the Crystal Lake where they had first spoken of her hidden abilities. Kale, she said, we have done much, but the galaxy will always test us. We must continue to train, to teach, and to lead. Our union is not just personal, it is a symbol. People are watching, Kyle nodded. I understand, and I am ready. Whatever comes, we face it together. They spent hours discussing strategy, practicing maneuvers, and refining communication techniques between human and Xerian forces. Kale's tactical mind and Lyra's energy control created a synergy that amazed even their closest advisors. Slowly, word of their success spread beyond immediate allies. Planets previously indifferent to humans now began sending envoys to learn from Kale and Lyra's methods. One delegation, from a planet covered entirely in floating islands, arrived to observe. The head envoy, a tall being with translucent wings, whispered to their colleagues, "I never imagined humans could lead so effectively. And the princess. Her powers are unlike anything we have seen." Kyle overheard the comment and simply smiled. Lyra glanced at him, and their silent communication said it all. Trust, unity, and courage were more powerful than any prejudice. As the alliance grew, Kale and Lyra faced a test unlike any before. A neighboring system, rich in rare resources, threatened to break the fragile peace by siding with hostile factions. Kale proposed a diplomatic mission, combining negotiation skills, strategy, and Lyra's calm authority. The delegation from the troubled system arrived on Xeria. Their leader, a stern and battle-hardened commander, initially refused to listen. "Why should we trust a human and a Xerian?" they asked. "We have heard tales, but tales do not guarantee survival." Lyra stepped forward, her presence commanding. She demonstrated a small but precise display of her energy manipulation, not threatening but undeniably powerful. She carefully repaired damaged systems within their vessels, showing that her abilities could aid rather than intimidate. Kyle then spoke, using logic, empathy, and strategy. "We have faced dangers together. We have proven that unity brings strength. You have an opportunity to join an alliance that values every species, not because we demand it, but because together we are safer and stronger." The commander paused. They had not expected such a combination of demonstration and reasoning. Slowly they nodded, signaling agreement. The alliance had grown once more, this time including a system that had been on the verge of conflict. Kale and Lyra continued their work over the following cycles, visiting planets, mediating disputes, and training new leaders in cooperative strategies. Humans, once dismissed as young and inexperienced, became respected participants in galactic governance. Xerians too recognized that Lyra's abilities, when guided with wisdom, could reshape entire systems for the better. Through it all, Kale and Lyra's personal bond grew stronger. They faced dangers, political challenges, and occasional scorn, yet their partnership never wavered. Citizens of Xeria and other worlds began to see them as a living example. Love, respect, and unity could overcome fear, prejudice, and underestimation. One evening, after a long council session, Kale and Lyra walked along a terrace overlooking the capital city. The towers shimmered with multicolored lights, and the twin moons cast a soft glow over the landscape. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" Kale asked. Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting the moons. "Every day, from ridicule in the council hall to respect across the galaxy, it feels surreal. But it also reminds me that appearances never tell the full story. Courage and trust define a person or a species, not looks alone." Kyle took her hand. "And humans have much to offer. I hope the galaxy remembers that lesson long after we are gone." Lyra nodded. "They will. Because we have proven it. And because others will follow our example. Unity, courage, and partnership are more powerful than weapons or prejudice. That is a lesson no one can ignore." As their journey continued, Kale and Lyra initiated a galactic training academy, where species of all kinds could learn to cooperate, combine abilities, and prepare for unforeseen threats. Humans were given leadership roles, while Xerians taught energy manipulation, diplomacy, and resilience. Together, students learned that diversity, rather than division, was the key to strength. News of the academy spread across the galaxy. Young leaders, diplomats, and strategists came from far-flung planets, eager to learn from the human ambassador and the Xerian princess. Many remarked on how unusual it was to see a human and Xerian working together with such mutual respect. Some initially doubted, but after witnessing the teaching and leadership, their skepticism turned into admiration. Even the Galactic Council, once quick to mock, began to rely on Kale and Lyra for advice. Their methods had proven effective not just in battle, but in diplomacy, governance, and conflict resolution. The council members, now cautious and respectful, understood that underestimation could be dangerous. As years passed, Kale and Lyra continued their work, always side by side. Their story, once ridiculed, became a legendary example of courage, intelligence, and unity. Humans gained respect across the stars, and Xerians learned to value unique abilities guided by wisdom. Together, they had changed the galaxy not by force but by example. One evening, Kyle and Lyra stood on a balcony, looking out at the stars that stretched endlessly. "We've accomplished so much," Kale said, "but there is still more to do. The galaxy will always have challenges." Lyra rested her head on his shoulder, "and we will face them. Together. Our union is stronger than any obstacle. We have proven that the underestimated can become leaders, and that unity can transform the galaxy." Kale smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "The council mocked me once. They mocked you too, but we turned their mockery into respect. And now others will follow our example." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Yes, and that is our true legacy, not just victories in battle, but the lessons we leave behind: courage, unity, and the value of seeing beyond appearances." The twin moons reflected on the towers of Xeria, illuminating a city that had become a symbol of hope and progress. Kale and Lyra stood hand in hand, ready for whatever the galaxy would bring. They had faced doubt, danger, and mockery, and emerged stronger. Across the stars, their story spread, inspiring humans and aliens alike. The lesson was clear: never underestimate humans, never judge by appearances, and always value courage, intelligence, and unity. In the quiet glow of the Xerian capital, Kale and Lyra looked to the horizon. Together they had protected worlds, reshaped perceptions, and built an alliance that would endure for generations. Their partnership had proven that love, respect, and collaboration could change the galaxy. And as new stars rose over distant planets, the galaxy knew one undeniable truth: Kale and Lyra's legacy was only beginning, and their example would shine for all to see.